"You do know he is not your son, right?" Someone said it loud enough for the whole lobby to hear, followed by laughter that did not bother lowering itself. Walter did not look up from the blanket he was folding. That comment was one of dozens he heard most weeks. None of it, however, ever began as laughter. It started on an ordinary Tuesday night in October, the kind nobody remembers until they have to. Walter worked the overnight shift at Ashford Court, a mid-size apartment building downtown. The sort of job most people never noticed until something went wrong. Once the lobby emptied out each night, he packed a foil-wrapped sandwich and an old wool blanket into a canvas bag and carried both out to the side entrance, where a teenage boy usually waited near the loading dock, half hidden in the shadows. Walter never announced it. He simply set the bag down, said a few quiet words, and walked back inside before anyone noticed. Somebody always noticed. In the break room, the day shift crew had a name for it. They called it Walter's Soup Kitchen, always followed by a laugh that expected Walter to laugh along too. Ethan, the newest hire, laughed the loudest at first, mostly because laughing seemed like the thing everyone else had already decided to do. Residents complained to the front desk as well, calling the boy loitering, calling Walter naive, insisting he was wasting good effort on someone who could never pay it back. Walter kept coming back anyway. Rain, cold, doubled shifts, none of it changed the routine. He simply carried the bag out, night after night, without offering anyone an explanation. Weeks passed this way. Then one slow night near midnight, Ethan stayed a little longer than his shift required. He watched through the glass door as Walter crouched down to hand over the blanket, saying something too quiet to hear before walking back inside alone. Ethan followed him out to the loading dock the next evening instead of heading home. He sat down on the concrete steps beside Walter and finally asked the question nobody else had bothered to ask directly. "Why do you keep doing this? Nobody thanks you. Half the building thinks you are wasting your time." Walter was quiet for a moment, staring out at the empty parking lot. "I used to know his mother," he said finally. "Years ago, before you started here." Ethan waited, sensing there was more, though Walter did not offer it right away. Over the following nights, in small pieces, the rest came out. Walter explained that the boy's mother, Carol, had once worked as a cleaner at Ashford Court. She had struggled for years, losing her apartment and steady work while trying to keep her son fed and safe. 6 months earlier, Carol had died after a long illness, leaving her son with no family willing to take him in. Before she passed away, she found Walter near that same loading dock and made him promise that if anything happened to her, he would make certain her son was never left completely alone. Walter made that promise, standing in almost the exact spot where he now left the blanket every night. He never told the property manager. He never told the other staff. He was not doing this for thanks or credit or anyone's approval. He was simply keeping his word to a woman who had trusted him with the only thing she had left to protect. A few nights later, a resident spotted the boy near the entrance and threatened to call the property manager, insisting someone needed to finally deal with him. Before Walter could respond, Ethan stepped forward, holding a second blanket he had brought from his own apartment. He walked past the resident without raising his voice, knelt down and handed it directly to the boy himself. Nothing about the routine changed after that, except that now there were 2 sets of footsteps crossing the parking lot each night instead of one. The jokes in the break room quietly stopped, not because anyone announced anything, but because it is difficult to laugh at kindness once you are the one kneeling beside it. Walter never explained himself to the whole building, and he never needed to. He had made a promise to someone who could no longer check whether he kept it, and he kept it anyway, one quiet night at a time. Sometimes the kindness we mock the loudest is simply loyalty we do not yet understand, carried by someone who never asked to be seen. If this story touched your heart, subscribe to Rise Stories for more emotional and moral stories every week.